Hi there, I'm Scott Lowe with ActualTech Media. We're here today live at ZertoCon, where I'm joined by Dante Orsini, who is the Senior Vice President for Business Development for iland, a Zerto partner. Dante, thank you for joining me here at our desk.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott.
So, iland and Zerto are pretty close partners. Can you give us an overview of what that partnership looks like and sort of how they benefit one another?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working with Zerto since the beginning, right? So iland's a global cloud service provider, and our relationship goes back to when Zerto first started to enter the market, right? And we've really been looking for ways that we can drive a more robust disaster recovery as a service solution, right? So we've integrated Zerto, I think, for the last 5 years now into our overall platform. So it's been a fantastic relationship for us.
One of the things we hear a lot about from Zerto is this concept of IT resilience. How do you see that messaging playing out, and particularly with the iland customer base and your joint customers?
Yeah, well, I think when people think about IT resilience, right, I love the term because for so long people think of disaster recovery as an insurance policy,
Right.
right? And we all know the role of IT is changing, and when we look at people's, propensity to look at availability, it's so different now. I've got a 16-year-old son, right? And if his phone is slow, he's freaking out.
Right.
Right? So just imagine what we're having to deal with in business these days, right? So trying to build better understanding across the entire organization that you have to be resilient at all components of the business takes a lot of change, right? And knowing that you have a core platform that allows you to address that is really where we've been focused on with Zerto. But I think ultimately this comes down to, as we see people continue to change the way that they're delivering applications, they're trying to build resiliency into that process.
Mm-hmm.
So they get in front of it. So it's not an afterthought.
Right.
And that's really where we spend a lot of time together trying to educate the market. And from our perspective, we're really trying to make that much easier on the customer, right?
So this concept of resilience really encompasses data protection so that it becomes a soup to nuts sort of thing rather than a bolt-on at the end is basically one of the, and our customers are getting the message.
Yeah, I think that some are. Right?
Right.
And it's just like any other market,
Right.
I think more importantly, we're seeing that there's a lot of companies traditionally that really weren't looking at ways of doing this that now realize that they have to, right? So working with cloud service providers, we're seeing a lot of organizations that I've even talked to some of the marquee, Zerto friends of ours here that are customers that run this out of their own data center, and they're saying, 2 years ago, we said we never look at cloud. Now they're all looking at cloud, right? Because there's been such a challenge in trying to maintain those levels of resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it, IT's under a lot of pressure, always has been. And now the focus is really on innovation. And it really, to do that, people have less and less time for risk mitigation, right? So looking for a way that they can actually automate and orchestrate this and make it part of the core process is really where we're seeing that adoption pick up.
So what are some other ways customers are really rethinking the cloud? What are some of these opportunities they're seeing in the cloud now? And in addition to what we see around us today here at the show, that are helping them rethink how they're doing cloud. Obviously, DR is a big one. What about things like cloud mobility and things like that?
Yeah, so I think DR obviously is a huge component, but when you think about cloud mobility, you really have to think about how well you can automate and orchestrate that transition between, right? And so if you've got an underlying engine that allows you to really, have an easy button, that's
Right.
what everybody's looking for, right? So I think Zerto's been squarely focused on how can we get that core product, to be so valuable that people rely on it, whether they're trying to replicate for recovery purposes or whether they're trying to move from cloud to cloud. Because let's face it, we all live in a multi-cloud world right now.
Absolutely.
Right? So having a core technology that allows you the ability to be mobile is so critical because we're seeing migrations all the time. I think that's one of the things that's been so beneficial for people in IT with cloud is it really gives you the ability to take risk, right? Think of the traditional decision-making process, right? Where you got to put your name on a massive investment that may or may not come to fruition.
Yeah. They
right?
don't have to do so much of an investment with the cloud.
That's it.
You can try things out.
That's right. Having the ability to take risk and do it quickly, right, at a low cost is great, but you also need, as you're developing these core applications, you need the ability to move from location to location, right? I think Zerto provides a lot of value.
So obviously, iland brings a lot to the table in the relationship, including a place to go. When customers are looking for, a partner for around their cloud initiatives, what's making them look at iland over some of the other options that are out there?
Yeah, so what's really different about us is we've been in the disaster recovery as a service space for over a decade now, right? And in the early days, everything we did had to be managed by us. And we knew that customers wanted more control, they wanted more automation, they wanted, the ability to actually orchestrate these things. So 8 years ago, we really started to focus on building a better platform. right? And in doing that, we took Zerto 5 years ago and we actually integrated it into the core platform. So now whether someone's leveraging us for backup, disaster recovery, or actually production hosting, knowing that they have resiliency built into the platform, moving the data is one component to that, right? Making sure that you've got integrated security, integrated compliance, right? And all being able to do this either via a UI or via API is critical. Right, so because we see people in so many different phases of this. Are they leveraging cloud for storage? Are they using it for backup? Are they using it to run production applications? What are they doing for disaster recovery, right? So having a single platform that allows them to manage all that is really where we've been focused, right? So when I look at this, people are so taxed trying to focus on innovation that they have to figure out how they can offload some of these things.
Right.
So we started with the core platform, and now for customers, if they're really starting to shrink headcount, we'll actually offer the ability to fully manage that for them as well.
Very
right?
good.
So
it's an opportunity for people to really rethink how they do things to be more efficient too, especially when we're looking at wanting to do things like digital transformation projects and things like that. You can't have so much focus on the infrastructure. You got to be focused on the business outcomes, and companies like Iland can help them do that, it sounds like.
Absolutely, and I think one of the big differentiators about us, because we've been doing this for so long, we started to work with our partners as well as our customers, and we built a cloud assessment application. We call this iland Catalyst. And for a few reasons. One, so many people are looking at cloud trying to figure out if it's the right use case. So we want to build something that would give the customer the ability to model different scenarios, right? Whether they're trying to back up, replicate, or actually lift and shift. And also analyze what's going on from a network perspective, right? Because when we talk about this multi-cloud world we live in, all the magic happens in the network.
Right.
Right? So being able to get in front of that and give the customer a tool to run various different scenarios really allows us to compress that pre-sales process. But for the customer, it gives them the ability to answer that question, is cloud right for this use case? And if so, what's it cost me?
Right.
Right. So this is a free tool that we developed about 2 years ago now. All of our partners use it. Our customers leverage it, right? But this also gives people the ability to leverage this tool by themselves. If they choose to share the data with us, we'll get a report which allows us to actually architect a solution very quickly.
Right.
Right. So to me, helping people through that first step, right, and doing it with real data that puts them in control, allows them to actually quickly answer that question.
And in terms of the partnership you have with Zerto, what's next on the horizon for Iland and Zerto's partnership?
Yeah, so I think Zero 7's got some interesting things, right, that they've been announcing for a while.
Yes,
so
it does.
We wrote our own object store, so there's certainly an opportunity for us there. As a cloud provider, we stay really, really close to Zerto. We're their largest provider globally. And because we integrate so tightly on the development front, we always keep our eyes squarely focused on that because we want to make sure that we can support the latest releases. So there's a lot of development going on around that right now. I think one of the other things that's really unique is to watch the growth of the hands-on lab experience here. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Scott, but we actually back-end that. We provide all the hosting for that and have for several years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you have to check it out. It's pretty cool.
I will.
Yeah, the platform's called Lab Engine. So we've worked with the Zerto team, and over the years, it was really to help support these events on a global basis. But this past year, their team that runs their learning and development, they basically went out and said, you know what? We want to make sure all of our customers and our partners can get access to the latest wares through the MyZerto platform. So if you go to MyZerto, they've actually created a front end to go check out any kind of lab that you want on demand.
Really?
Yeah, they're basically leveraging our API to do that. So it's
nice.
Fantastic partnership.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dante, thank you very much for joining us for this chat, and have a great. Hope you have a great experience for the rest of the show.
Absolutely, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.